There's some background noise because I'm charging up. I ran out of battery here, and let's see, it's giving me some different options for live beam, no filter blush. It's getting a little bit more sophisticated. So anyway, I wanted to just talk about the transition, and I don't know how well my voice is being picked up on with the background noise here, but the major transition between walking, I'm going to turn this back here. So I just got to learn how to get going. The major transition between walking and going toward this ultra lean, this can be done at any time, but it is a staple that must be done with any natural training. I could say natural bodybuilding, because there's really no difference between bodybuilding and body sculpting when you're doing it naturally. What you're doing is you're using what's been referred to in a more generic sense as the Adonis index. That's taking your wrist circumference, timesing that times 6.5, and then you come up with your chest measurement, and then you base everything else on percentage of your chest measurement. And some say Michelangelo utilized this process when he was trying to figure proportions out. So what I found, I used this for a great number of years. I use this process with clients. It tells you everything about your insulin also. When you have these big insulin spikes and you're taking in excess amounts of carbohydrates, you're going to see those numbers change, particularly around the waist. When you bring the waist down, it's like a balloon, right? You let out too much, and you start to see the arms shrink. You start to see the calves shrink. They're areas that you battle with physiologically, genetically, but mostly that has to do directly to your diet. The best and most efficacious results I ever got was when I was doing carnivore type eating, undulating that in and out with some roughage, very little actually, but on a regular basis, very much timed. That's what, when I came up with the 3-day cycle, it was like I would fast the first day, right? But I always like to start out with loading the first day, but theoretically we're going to go off this where you fast for the first day, all protein, water. So that would be the perfect day to do a long, slow distance type of activity. Now, since I've been doing this for 3 months, this is the only 3 months I will theoretically have to do this if I stay on point. I will be transitioning a day like this into a jog. I used to go running like around the dish when I lived in Palo Alto. There are many nice little runs. There's a nice run in Pacific Grove that I'd go on where I would do more like sprinting, sprint a mile one way, sprint a mile the other way, and do that several times. But you end up getting all this endurance. That's what we're building up right now. Then it's going to be actually building up the lean muscle mass. Everything's small. My legs are small, my calves are small. Everything's small but my waist. Like my waist relatively has gone up in the last 3 months. I've started to store more fat around the lower abdominals. If you look back at a lot of the videos that I did prior to this, I told you that that's what I was going to do. Everything else shrinks down. You start to store in those high-pocketed, high-fat cell areas like the lower abdomen, and it cues in that you've got to go toward eating ketosis, carnivore style, high calorie balls. And for me, that's when I see I've got to start adding in pork. It's really about the market price. It'd be great to be able to buy high quality steaks. It'd be great to be able to, buy chicken and know that exactly how much fat I'm taking in. But when I do that type of thing, I have to be dialed in the gym where I can go hop on a spin bike or have access to some heavy weights and take that energy directly toward an activity. It just it's overkill to do isometric type body weight and band exercises. There's just only so far you can do it. It's great when you can use it for drop sets, when you can do drag training, when you can add in exercise bands. I was doing that 15 years ago. I was using that with in conjunction with free motion machines, free weights, where I would, do what I call drag training. I would add in that extra little bit of resistance with like a 15 to 35 pound resistance band at the top of the movement. So the walking that I'm doing right now I keep running out of charge from my phone, so that's why I'm sitting right now, but I'm just finishing up on my last 3 miles of my walk. This walking will transition into running. It will transition into doing heavy squats for the legs instead of high endurance exercises. It'll be more power movements. But from what I'm doing right now, I'm building up muscular endurance where I will be able to do multiple sets. I have a higher cardiac output at this point, but it is not where it's going to be when I'm able to go into running and doing spin, and then eventually what I love to do is add in mountain biking, road biking, things like that. It's been some years, but I've been on that regimen where I went on rides like 3 to 4 days a week, and I trained 3 to 4 days a week. I'm not going to do anywhere near that type of aerobic and anaerobic output type training. It's going to be predominantly just in the gym doing resistance training. So that'll be next month that I will be implementing that in. This is my time right now. It's a very rare time that most people don't have. It takes a considerable amount of time to tap into fat and to be able to walk 5 hours a day. Most people just don't have that type of time. So the past couple months have been great. It's been amazing. It was the kind of thing where I would have been battling with this way down the road. So I'm able to burn off this body fat, and it's quite a gift. I think I keep putting my finger over the actual microphone on the bottom. I'm not real high on that with this iPhone Pro 13. I'll be trading in for something up when I get the work back in order. I'm going to be doing everything from rideshare to gym training other people, possibly doing IHSS hours, along with some other things. So doing some online training. I do have a certification from NASM that I did with ShareCare, where I have an actual online certification doing online personal training. So I've also been like a nutrition and dietary counselor, sports nutrition. I'm a PES and a CES with NASM. I'm a personal trainer, and I have an advanced personal trainer certification, as well as a core conditioning specialist through Nesta, and then TRX, kettlebells, and might even be a couple others, but I've got like 8 active definitely 6 active certifications, and then through Jordan Vizina, who's a master Dragon Door instructor, I have a lifelong certification with him, where he doesn't do those certifications anymore. He became like a famous writer that's a Tom Clancy novel type writer, and so he successfully went from training, doing kettlebell training around Palo Alto, to transitioning into becoming I think a father, a husband, and a writer. Great guy, really, just an amazing person. Craig Binkowski, I got to give a shout out to him too. He was my manager way back in the day. He worked for many years for 24 Hour Fitness, Equinox. He went on to become the volleyball coach, one of the volleyball coaches that worked with the Stanford University women's volleyball. But he has a huge resume too. I haven't seen him in several years, but I used to keep in touch with him on a regular basis, and just to say hi, and he would check in with me until a lot of the reports became pretty negative. And that's just a part of the transparency that a person has to go through, where you make decisions, you make choices, and you report on those decisions and choices with truth and accuracy, and there's nothing to fluff over about it. So I try to be as real and raw as I possibly can with everything that I'm doing. It's so again, back to the training. It's a very exciting situation I'm in, because this is like the 2 weeks where I stand the greatest chance of building up some visible abs. What that says for me aesthetically is placed directly in my mind. Is placed directly into exercise and movement, and patterns, the science of the exercise, where I know that once I get down to my actual body weight with no added fat, and I'm able to move, force, producing movements. I'm able to move and do things like running and other things like that. So I'll be running some 10Ks next year. I'll be getting some 5-finger shoes, which are the only types of shoes that I can run in. I got to be able to stretch my toes out a little bit. And doing movement patterns that release the tension, like in the bursal area, the tensor fasciata, doing windmills, fireman carries, things like that I always did from a functional standpoint. Now, a lot of those things are laughed at by certain people that are more, it trended toward like this anabolic nightmare. Like, this happens every decade, every generation, where things seem like they're going to get exorbitantly better. People have finally, principles have finally sparked in people's heads. They're finally integrating that in, and then you see a lost generation where none of that's talked about. It's all sensationalism. And so this generation coming up, the youngest generation, is really going to have a lot to deal with, as far as from thinking that sensationalism itself sells, and thereby they sell themselves, and thereby they have no actual purity within themselves, and they'll have a hard time finding the truth out there. And that just creates this lifelong discourse, this dichotomy of confusion, So I really like to represent the truth on this channel, and I really like to be able to put that on the forefront and put that out there first and foremost, and that's how I started it from the beginning. Just a fat, middle-aged, older guy flexing, and putting it out there saying, I know what I am. I know what I am. I know I look like a damn fool. I know that what I'm doing is cringeworthy, but I know what's underneath. And so I hope you know what you're capable of. I hope you know what's underneath. I hope you know that you probably have the same exact physiology that you did back in the day, back in your heyday, and that all you really have to do is focus in on healthy fat burn. And that's what this continuous training and this GET training is all about. But it really begins with getting your diet in cue. And it starts with, I always say, fiber, water, walk, and supplements. Those supplements are adding in high spectrum amino acids, protein. The supplements refer to your base supplements of getting in the magnesium, the calcium, the electrolytes that your body needs, the vitamin Bs, and then the trace minerals, those things are extremely important. The cobalt, the copper, the selenium, all those things need to be taken in every day, because the higher energy output, the more we go through those, we have the organic and the inorganic properties, the more our bodies will go through all of those full spectrum trace minerals. So they have to be replaced on a daily basis as well, and this costs money. So like the mineral research group, the liquid portions of that stuff's not cheap, but it can last you more than a few months. Those mineral droppers, I will typically put a few drops of that in with my shakes. I'll typically put 15 to 20 drops from the mineral research group, those liquid trace minerals, colloidal minerals also they're called, in with the cooking that I've talked about with the clay pot. But right now we're going down to the bare minimum. We're training down to the absolute leanest that we can possibly get. And what that means is flitting in and out of ketosis. So we're placing our order tonight, and we're going to be having some good videos coming up when we hit the gym next month. So I just wanted to do something because I'm not sure how much more of this redundant indoor walking I'm going to be filming. I've actually put a lot of these lives up by accident, thinking that I was on my other channel, Stellar Mass 13, where I'm really just storing what I went through, what I was thinking about, and the date correlated to the dates of what I was going through at the time for my own uses, to be able to do like an AZ recording of that, edit it, and then in the future probably put something up that's a compilage on this channel here. So I apologize for a lot of the missteps, the mistaken lives I've done, because it's not really representing what I'm shooting for. And so what I am shooting for is that major transition from this continuous gradual intensity indoor walking, where I'm burning off this layer of fat over the course of these 3 months. I'm already 2 months in on this, to a full transition to everyday training in the gym. And I'll be doing a lot of the same methods that I was doing last year when I had started to, quote, get GIT, gradual intensity training techniques, where I'm working, I'm going out doing 2 or 3 hours of work, making my money, even if it's in the gym training people, and I'm back doing 15 to 25 minute intense sessions of gradual intensity training. Do the same thing, go back again later. Do the same thing, go back again later. So I found this to be more efficacious and to render better results. When I was training people, all I was doing is sipping on a scoop of protein every single hour, downing water while I'm training people. At the end of the 1 hour training session, going and hitting the loo, taking a leak, and then doing the same exact thing over and over again. I would train 17 hours a day. That's how many clients I had. I had over 60 clients. I burned out. I was living at that higher threshold. People around me knew this, and they literally victimized me out of jealousy because they couldn't do what I did. So it really comes down to, if you're going to keep doing this, it's about the circle that you have around you. You can't have malignant narcissists around you. You can't have codependent, needy people. When you are really following your autonomous, principle-based way, you can only be around people who aren't joy stealers, who aren't energy vampires and sucking up your time. Well, that's the time we're going into. That's what we're prepping up for. I've already done it. I've already got this, history. I've got my training certs ready to go. Always have. And I've got the training mind, and I'm doing it myself. This is what I impress upon my clients to do. It's a very exact measure, and it results in the perfection of you could say the Venus Adonis index, but I don't use that because those terms, when I started to use wrist circumference and then understanding the direct correlation between wrist circumference and insulin spikes, and I saw, oh, this makes my body fat caliper measurement the very next day go up another, two placings, like you get used to it. You're looking at it. Like I had as much fat on my lower abs as I have on my hand here, the back of my hand. I've reached that place. So ultimately, that is the process that you're using, where you're going through these cycles over and over and over again, 3 day cycle again. So in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be replacing my carb loads with pork. And I'm going to be doing pork loins that I'm ordering tonight. I'm starting on that tomorrow. And then within the next 5 to 6 weeks, I'll be transitioning all this into the gym up in the probably up in the Sacramento area. And what I typically like to do is I like to join up to 2 or 3 different gyms. So depending on where I'm at, what I'm doing, if I don't want to go to one that's either because of certain crowd that's in there at the time that I'm able to get in there, or where I am geographically, where I can just kind of go in to say like Planet Fitness and get a little workout, just doing specific things like side lateral raises, maybe working just in the frontal plane. I'll go in and get a quick workout, and then I'm all the way on the other side, say visiting my son, down in the Elk Grove area, and I'm able to take him in with me to 24-hour fitness and do some, bench press and some pull downs and things like that. And then later go hit the gym myself, maybe go into something like, I'm thinking about like Lifetime Fitness, go into a frou-frier gym that's got just a better setting, more relaxed and stuff like that, and be able to train for an hour and a half or 2 hours, But the point is that when you're trying to catch these, that's why we call it gradual intensity training, continuous training, is it's not the mindset of you're just going to train once in the day and recover, and you're just like thinking of it in this very arbitrary manner. We are not robots. That's not how the human physiology works. Whatever form follows function, function into form. Whatever you do all day, every day, and through the night, that's how you become great at the things that you do. People are just starting to kind of put this together, but when you get into Olympic lifting and powerlifting, and I've trained these people, and it's a completely different methodology that you're following. You're looking more at microcycles, mesocycles, macrocycles. When you're just going for total performance, total aesthetics, and to be able to cross train between different things, where you can go run, you can mountain bike, you can lift, and you're training just to live a more vivid life, and to be, to have Technicolor HD in the lifestyle that you adhere to, and you're working on your health, you're working on your state of mind, you're working on the philosophy and motion. That is what continuous training is. That's what GET training is all about. And it's fiber, water, walk, and supplements. It has to come down to a very simple mantra that your fallback. So anyway, I'm going to get going because I have to get a hold of somebody who's texting me. But that's the whole point. You start to, those amino acids crossing the blood-brain barrier. It's all about this thing up here in your motor neurons and your nervous system. You want to get better. You want to become more acute. You want to be thinking, and you want your reactions to become proactions. It's extremely important that you're able to balance, toe the balance. We all fail, and we fall toward perversions at times in our lives, the mistruth. We all fail, and we start to hide behind a lie because it's just a conformist way of doing things when we're working in an office, when we're working around other people, and so forth. But when we get to the point where we really realize that we must become autonomous, that's what GET training and continuous training is all about. It's actualizing your identity. It's authenticating yourself. It's showing the show. What are you? What aren't you? When you pull that, people used to come up to me and pull my shirt up and go, look at these abs, because they knew, first of all, nobody's going to do that to me ever again. Secondly, the reason that they did that is because they knew this guy's abs are going to be dialed in because he lives the lifestyle. When somebody can be that consistent, it gives other people an idea of a sort of concrete universal model of means. Like they don't see what you go through in order to do this for yourself. They think that the end result means you're like Mr. Blah 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 down at the candy store, or you're like the guy. It's like Busy Town. It's a fabrication that doesn't exist, and people are really starting to realize that those that we saw as, you know, the patriarchs in our society, it took one hell of a lot of hard work to become that way, and most of those guys really weren't that way at all. They appeared that way in front of people, but like Anton LaVey and other people noticed, you know, when he was playing as a musician in a bar one night, seeing the philandering and the lack. I mean, these guys were staying there till 3 or 4 in the morning on a Saturday night, right? And he was one of the few musicians in the area. Morning, he's in church playing with a, the band, right? And the same men are coming in as the deacons and priests, preachers, acting like they're these good standing men. I'm not trying to fit into your old school Masonic society. I'm autonomous. I'm guided by the principles that I have learned the hard way. That's just the road I came in on. I'm not playing fake, you know, I'm not playing any fake cards here. So that's really what this station represents, is just, it's showing the show. It's being as authentic as I possibly can be. And so I feel like the diet, nutrition, the training, having done this for years, having had hundreds and hundreds of people that I trained and reaching marked success with them, I'm able to reproduce this. I went through a spiritual transformation over a decade where I would not allow myself to do this carnal pursuit because it was really easy. I could go into a gym, I could get shredded, I could build my arms up, but I never needed to come up to any philosophical heightened state of my intrinsic self. And a lot of people seem to be really together in the fitness industry, but they don't have this philosophical principle-based underpinning, this working that's really occurring within them that we search for, that we're looking to these people in society for, these pillars of society, that when we find out they're not really pillars, they only present that themselves as such. We want to be authentic. We want to be that person. So a lot of that is uncovering the lies that we lived by prior to. And you have to say, that's just the road I came in on. I used to be that way. It didn't work for me. This is who I am today. And this is because I've adopted these principles and put these principles into motion, right? And just like emotions aren't a bad thing. Energy in motion. But we have to be utilizing these emotions through a principle-based process. Otherwise, we're just reacting and not proacting. So for me, it begins with the diet. It begins with certain mantras where your fallback is, like we say, fiber, water, walk. If you're meeting all those areas, like for me, it's a gallon of water, fresh water per day. Walking right now, it's meeting 10 miles per day, every single day, at least 6 days a week. That's what I've been staying with for 2 months. I'm going to be doing that for 3 months, right? The fiber, if I'm going to be eating any sort of carbohydrates, it's fiber first that I'm looking at. That area starts to transition a little bit differently when I'm on the 3-day cycle, where that fiber becomes more roughage, and I'm able to take in some oils with that roughage in order to make sure that I'm getting in the MCTs, the omega-3s, which are extremely important, and other fats, right? Depending on my goals. That is, if I decide like tomorrow to use ketosis and carnivore instead of doing a carb load because I want to get leaner and more dense, well, I'm not just looking at these really healthy going to take place next month. So thank you for watching and thank you for your support.